I would love to just start off by delving into a little bit about what you've been experiencing over the past, we'll say, month, and the energies that you feel that are coming into the picture in September.
Okay. Yeah, so are we starting the interview now, or are we just kind of getting an overview?
Yeah, we can just dive in whenever you feel, or if there's anything else that you need from me, just let me know.
No, I think that's it. I think we're wonderful. Let's just dive in and have a conversation. It's awesome.
Yeah, so this past month, oh funny, 333. Right. This past month has been, in my experience, a great initiation into mastery, deep levels of oneness that I have yet to experience. And I've been through a lot of palpable initiations and life transformations where I've been guided to merge with that energy more deeply. And it feels like I've just gone to all new depths. And what it's uncovering is this sense of wonderment and childlike awe that I have also yet to experience. So it's going into those deep depths and then opening into even greater joy, harmony, abundance, prosperity, and just really being synchronized to the here and now.
Oh, I love the way you say that. And that's a great summation of a similar experience that I've been having. So even leading up to the last month, before that, there was, again, you talk about initiations, I was taken down this portal of feeling these emotions that I had repressed for so long. It's not that I was wanting to repress them, but there was a deeper layer of sadness, of despair. There was an abyss of waves of energy that were wanting to be expressed. And I've been doing my own personal transformation for the last 11, 12 years. 12 years ago, I didn't even know what a chakra was. And then the dam just broke open, just the intuitive guidance and the awareness, prophetic dreams started coming through. And that was wonderful. And having done, the forgiveness work, going into different layers of ourselves, getting to know ourselves and experiencing ourselves through other relationships, you think that we had processed this. And again, and I am a can't say processing junkie, but self-transformation is, I like going deep. Shallow just doesn't work for me. I don't feel at home in the shallowness. So if, like, you talk about shadow work, it's like, sign me up.
Yeah. Thank you for being brave and courageous to go there.
I think we all are in some ways, but we've been taught to not want to be in those realms. So again, there's been this huge wave of even going deeper into the recesses of these places that we have access to. And it's no longer about burying those feelings alive anymore, because we can't. And so the resuscitation came up organically, and it was calling me to a place of being in intimacy with what others would refer to as these dark energies, these shadow aspects. And I had people reach out to me. It's like, well, you've got all these tools and processes, like vibrate above it, get to that other layer of being that you have access to, that you're so adept at and teach other people about. And my guidance is like, no, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to have relationship with these parts of myself. They're not bad. They've been misunderstood. And there's aspects of love that are ready to be revealed there if I am only willing to be with them, listen to them, to allow their wisdom to stream through, so that I can grow from who they be as well. And Solara, I went through it. I went deep into it, and I haven't had that level of anxiety, despair, sadness come up for me, and I can't tell you how many decades. And it was profound. And I'm sorry I'm being so verbose, but this is so for me to share right now as part of the expression. What emerged from that, and then I'll get into what happened in the last month, and I'm sure you can add to this as well. What emerged from that for me is something that can't ever be taken away from me anymore. And I access also this capacity for compassion that I didn't know that was available to me. I looked at previous relationships, other circumstances. I looked at the other person's viewpoint or the situation's viewpoint. And the layer of love, the level of compassion that I can feel for what they were going through, that I thought I understood then, but couldn't really comprehend at this depth until I went through it myself. Mm-hmm. It changed me. It changed me at my core. And it's so wonderful what's been coming up through it. It's been challenging reintegrating. Mm-hmm. But also being in the innocence of it, like you said, it's like, I wonder what this is. And I'm letting go and letting God is what I keep doing over and over again. And in that, there's something powerful that's emerging that I'm sure a lot of people are experiencing right now.
Oh, yes. I deeply appreciate you bringing this forward, because I think this is the real meat and the core of what we are experiencing as a collective unit right now. And being guided, in my experience, to do that together. So going through our internal processes and then meeting one another in those deeper layers of intimacy to allow that space of empathy and compassion to be open for all, and really, doing this as a unit. And so
I'm laughing. I'm sorry. I'm smiling because you said the word allow, and I just want to invite. It's like, we can pretend that we're allowing it. It's going to happen anyway.
Right.
We repress it and we allow it to just, the pressure to build up and that rub to get so heated, it can implode on us. Or we can surrender more gracefully into it and be with it and be with the flow of the energy instead of waiting for a tsunami to take us over.
Right. Oh, that's such gold. And that's really what you're accessing, is these deeper layers of gold. Because what I have found in my journey, and I continue to peel back the layers and go deeper. And, after doing, like you said, 10, 15 plus years of personal self-transformation and development work, you think like, okay, I'm at this higher octave of frequency and consciousness, and then it's back into the valley. And when those cosmic energies start coming in from, it just shows like, okay, on these deeper visceral somatic layers, this is what's here now. So can you be with this fully, and can you merge with it and melt into it and have empathy and compassion, and then bring that forward in the world? And it continues. It continues. And I'm curious what because this, I feel like, is an experience a lot of people are having right now. I know that I certainly am in my own personal journey. So how does this come up for you in intimate relationships with others, particularly in sacred union?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, being with a partner who's willing to ride the waves with you, and they don't have to understand necessarily. Mm-hmm. And sometimes a partner in sacred union like this can also push our boundaries in ways where either the resistance is pushing us to a new level of being, or where we have to resist because we know where we need to go. And we can do our own individual journey, but still be part of the sacred union, but honoring this journey that we're being guided to for our own individual growth. Mm-hmm. And what is it, that meme that says, I see it all the time. It's like, let me think of it for a second. It's like, commit not to me, commit to your transformation, and I'll meet you there.
That's stunning. That's it right there. If we can just commit to being fully with our own experience and our own process, I feel like that's where true oneness and that light that extends, the omnipresent light of source consciousness we start to awaken it within ourselves, because my perception is it's already there. We're just revealing it at greater and greater levels the more that we go into the depths. And so interestingly, I find ascension to be a process of descension. So how deeply can we go into the body and open into that light and have new perception? So my filters of perception are always getting cleansed to be in that eternal dance with the beloved. And I find that relationships are the greatest ways to access deeper and deeper layers of that, so that it can become truly sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Well, they definitely show us where we're off balance. Mm-hmm. They're beautiful mirrors for what's available and how we show up. How do we put ourselves as a priority, while also knowing that there's a priority that can be met on an equal playing field. Mm-hmm. As well. So it's not that one has to take the lead over the other. And sometimes we do take turns, mm-hmm. but there's this commitment and awareness of the divinity of that sacred union that's taken place. And as you can keep the awareness, the remembrance as much as we can of the divinity of it, then there's no hierarchy to it. There's no me before you, you before me. It's meeting each other where we are and witnessing each other. And there's something that in divine union calls us to a particular partnership where we hold a very particular space of awe and wonderment for the energy that's being exchanged.
That's beautiful. That's such an exquisite outlook, to just have a sense of curiosity and wonderment for what's coming up. And in my journey, that is what allows me to actually access deep levels of understanding, where it's independent of me as Solara, but I'm just opening that field as source consciousness, and then I can really see and behold the experience that another is having. And there's a sense of, empathy and true, what I would consider true ecstasy and warmth that is born in that place, because that's where the fertility of connection really is. And just being able to be present and in empathy and in compassion and curiosity, and not, and just being a space for that.
You're speaking my language, the wonder, the curiosity, the awe of it all, and being there. And again, my awareness is, and I've known this forever. I mean, we all have known this, and we get conditioned into looking at other places. But as we go through the transformation, we witness what's available, and we have experiences. Truly, this human experience is for us. It is for me. It is for me to experience divinity's love for me. And as I choose to receive that, as I open to drop the shields of what's preventing me, as I'm aware of it, as I bypass my ignorance of what's available, as I choose to receive, I can't help but to share, to give out from this cup that runs over of what's available. And that's authentic love to me. That's like gifting from this recess that you have. What happens in relationships sometimes is that we keep giving from a place where we're functioning from an empty cup. And we keep giving, hoping that eventually we'll get something in return. And if we remember just to get back to ourselves, it's like, wait, let me gather myself. Because in gathering myself, I have so much more to give to you. And authenticity. It no longer becomes this codependent type of let's save each other type of relationship. It's like, let me witness your wholeness.
Yes.
Let me be with your wholeness. If you choose to give something to me from that wholeness, I will say yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's what I would imagine I experience true unconditional love and true giving as, because the only true action of that love is then to give it, because it's so rich and it's so full and there's such an abundance of it. It's just here.
It's juicy, it's playful, it's abundant. It's like it never runs out. We can put it in different places because of where our awareness is and where we want to play. But in the commitment and devotion of sacred relationship, again, there's this beautiful siphon or stream that automatically this love, this energy gets funneled into. It happens organically.
Yes. And I find that that's the case in service as well. When we're so filled with our mission and our purpose and our divine guidance, then we can just emanate that into the world, and through the creative avenues that we feel called to express. Yeah. And it's just pure joy. And in that, all the flourishing happens automatically. So it's just can I focus on contribution? Can I focus on giving that which I'm experiencing as divinity and love, and just, trust that that's where the flourishing happens. So there's go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and the flourishing happens in unexpected places also. Yes. The flourishing, I was in despair, I was in sadness, I was in this deep anxiety, but something in me was flourishing. Something in me was taking root and blossoming in a way that I could not have imagined. And so where do we put attention to the flourishing and not try to control the outcome, but allow what's flowing within us, whatever that is, to be received as divine. And you'll find that when you start having relationship with yourself and others in that capacity, divinity is everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you just see the face of the divine and everything. There's a meme that channeled through to me a couple of weeks ago, and it was, recognize the face of God in everything. We're always dancing with eternity. And to just hold that frame of knowingness. And I think in order, and I know for me, I've got to cultivate that inside of myself and allow that level of light to penetrate deeply into my core and my being for that perception to be sustained. And then, you know, it's this mystical, enchanting reality where it's like, okay, what's next? How are we going to dance today? What surprises and what novelties are going to come into my experience? And always kind of listening for the voice of the divine and everything too. And what are you wanting to show me and reveal to me? And then the whole thing just becomes magical.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely. And that's what's been coming up for me over the last couple of months, and in the last month specifically, there's this, what's being revealed. And for so many of us who are very intuitive and have had the gift, I heard 2.5 years ago that gift of intuition will not be the same as what it used to be. Getting the blueprints of what's going to happen in the next 10, 20 steps ahead was no longer going to be what was normal for the intuitive.
So this is exquisite. So I would love to hear more about that download and what you're perceiving as potentially past ways of perceiving and intuiting, and new future ways of intuiting and perceiving information. Where is that intuition sourced from?
That's a great question. Well, I know that we're in a great period of embodiment. And so we're embodying, and we're taking the mastery that perhaps we don't believe that we've mastered, and it's being integrated into every cell of our being. Part of the embodiment also is that for so many of us who are used to channeling into us, to receiving and to being guided, that guidance is becoming more of a personal experience. The intuition, the guidance is coming from within, not from without, or from outside of us. And as it comes from within, there's this aspect of self. We can call it higher self. We can call it the greater consciousness or the super consciousness that we have within ourselves. We're taking ownership in that. And I really do believe it's that the access to our guides, to this universal source energy that so benevolently loves us with a type of love that we haven't even begun to experience. That wants to play with us, that wants to be with us, not as a guiding force, but a co-creating force. And in co-creating, we have to participate, not just be the receivers of instructions on how to move forward.
Yes, becoming that source, the embodiment and the imbued exemplary expression of what that energy is from moment to moment. And something interesting that I find happening in my experience, and so there's a couple of things that I would love to explore with you. And one is, what guidance would you give for those who are going into these depths in their own personal experience and they feel a pull to separate from the moment or to separate from the experience in some way, and how to access those richer levels of embodiment in the here and now in relationship to whatever is presenting in the current moment?
That's an interesting balance, and that's such a great question. And what I would share, and I share with my private clients also, when we get into the space, it's like we have to be more than okay. We have to be in relationship by choosing, I'm with this that's with now. It's just choosing. It's like, here it is. And this is painful. And it's like, I may want to step away for a little bit and come back. But as it keeps coming up, I truly believe that we're in these energies and these times where we can't run from what's coming up anymore. It's going to get louder. Our bodies are going to feel it more densely. Our minds are going to race at a point where it's like, we're just going to dive in anyway. Our financial picture will be impacted because the density of the past is not something that we can carry into the future anymore. We truly are at the echelon of a new world being birthed, and the past doesn't belong there anymore. The embodiment of the experiences and the wisdom we carry within us in the present moment.
Yes.
And that awareness, that mastery can serve on how we make decisions as each step unfolds before us. So we can have an access to intuition, where we're being guided to all these things. We can have a feeling, a hit, a picture that's being presented to us, but the steps aren't being revealed in the way that they were before. And so now it's take one step, land there, be with that body, and then the next one gets revealed. And there's this beautiful invitation to presence for each and every experience for yourself. Your presence of yourself is the biggest gift that you can give to yourself, not just to others. If you can give yourself presence, you can give it to anybody, anywhere, at any time.
Yes. You're just a wellspring of wisdom.
This is fun, right?
Yeah, this is excellent. I am so in deep honor and gratitude of your levels of embodiment and your capacity to speak from that embodied wisdom and to really transmit this into the collective. Because it's what I experience is we're coming into these, mystical realities that are, there is no more past and future. We're entering totally into the present moment. And although there may be a perceptual past and future in the greater holographic landscape, but we're really being drawn into the here and now and getting to see all the places and spaces where we are. I experience separation from the moment. So as you were saying, being present to ourselves and our experience and what that is and really landing there, that right there, that's just such a potent activation and transmission unto itself, to be present to where we are right now and to really land there and to know that that's safe and to know that by that benevolent light intelligence and overflowing well of love that is source, that is our higher self, that is our divine genius, is there with us, activating within us and expanding within us so we can experience ourselves as more and more of that, moving into the next moment, in the next moment, in the next moment. And that's really, I feel, at a deep core layer, what we're all seeking is powerful harmonization and connection to our present moment experience from the source perspective, living in that relationship with life and trusting that from that, all else unfolds in its highest potential, its highest possible timeline, frequency, outcome, all the things that we are seeking and looking for outside of this here and now. All of that is available by being fully present to that now moment and harmonizing, and ultimately being the living embodiment of that source. And the way that I see that energy, it is quite holographic, but it goes infinitely in and infinitely out in all of these beautiful fractals, almost like a, what are they, disco balls, like all the different layers of the hologram. And more of those layers are synthesizing into our body. That's the light body integration, the way that I see it. More of that larger self is entering into our physical embodiment and simultaneously flushing out all of the places and spaces where we're not in total resonance and congruence with that energy, but through embrace, by merging with them, by harmonizing to them.
As you talk about that, I can feel it. It's like, yes, that's what's coming up. An easy way to get there and hold.
Yes, please.
By any time that we're not there, to get to that level of compassion and to have that compassion for self, is like, oh, I forgot, and bringing yourself back in. It's judgment that keeps us separate, but the compassion brings us back. The innocence brings us back. When you're functioning from a foundation of love, if that's truly your intention, if your intention is, manipulation and control and domination, then that's a different type of personal development that we need to get into. Right. To bring something up, and that still runs the world, and there's innocence in that as well. Mm-hmm. Because the bottom layer of all that soot and all that darkness is still this cry for the love.
Yes.
And we don't have to go there, and we certainly don't have to help it build its momentum.
Right.
But for so many that listen, that are your audience, that are people that follow you, Solara, and for my audience as well, there's this sincere intention of a foundation of love that's acknowledged.
Right.
We want to build further. We want community. We want to be understood and understand.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And from that foundation, having that awareness, the innocence leads the show. The compassion for any time that we have strayed away from what we thought we were leading towards love. It's like, oh, let me get back to that. And compassion, forgiveness for self. It eliminates the judgment. It's the judgment that takes us back into needing to heal over and over again, needing to clear over and over again. And again, the past is no longer in the present. The past will not be carried into the future. Anything from the past that is still lingering, that has not been resolved, will be brought into your present moment. Make no mistake about it. It will be resolved, and you'll build the future that you're ready to create as those resolutions take place.
Yes, that's stunning.
The matrix of the mind and accessing all those storylines. I don't believe, I know that swirl of karma has been completed. We've spiraled up in consciousness in this evolution of this incarnation, where we've incarnated several lifetimes of lessons of karmic retribution, and we're at this phase collectively that it's really the depth of karma.
Ah, yes.
There's a book I'll be writing about, but that's still a ways away.
Yeah, that's exquisite. And I feel us right there on that edge. And so one thing that I have experienced, which is interesting and unique for me, because I live primarily from that reality, but I have encountered situations where, you know, and my being feels a natural desire to move in different directions. However, I've been guided directly into it, places and spaces where the perception of karma and fear are still very alive. And so what I have looked for in those situations is, okay, how do I find a new depth of mastery within my own self while allowing that to be fully present, and also knowing that at a quantum, you know, in a quantum reality, all of that is resolved in the here and now. And then it's simply about staying connected to the truth of our dharma and our wholeness and our oneness moving forward. And I do feel, and I would love to receive your perception around this on a grander scale, that is an active choice that we must continuously make from moment to moment to fully, to realize it, to actualize it, to expand it, and to ultimately allow the grace of it to permeate in and through us as us.
The grace will permeate as we allow the mastery we've been embodying to flow through. And we don't want to get into spiritual materialism also. So we think we've mastered something. The second you think you've mastered something, guess what? It's going to be an opportunity for the innocence of it to come up. So for me, it's a balance between the mastery and the innocence, between knowing what you've embodied and then releasing it, knowing that you know nothing at all. And being open to the unknown. And that's part of what's happening in the evolution now also. It's like we're the embrace of the unknown. And some people say, yeah, I'm ready for the unknown. Awesome. Yes, let's do it. Let's adventure into it. I am up for that. But how would you be in the unknown if you're not sure how you're going to pay your rent check next week?
Right.
The unknown if you don't know where your next meal is coming from.
Right.
How to be in the unknown if you just had this serious diagnosis about your health or about a loved one's health, even worse.
Right.
How can you be in that and then be in the trust? And there's no longer a solo journey. Yes, we do it for us. We show up for the experience. And we're being called to the collective creation, to relying on each other, to reaching out, to being vulnerable yet strong enough to say, yes, I receive. But this year has been a strong aspect. And I was called to it in January. It seems like every January I get a new theme for the year. And this year was receiving. It's like, this is going to be your year for receiving. I was like, yes, finally, I'm ready to receive. It's one of the hardest freaking years ever, because I had to let go of the control how I receive, or my perception of receiving, or what's wanting to come through. And I had to really surrender into the unknown. And it's been tough. And thank God I've gone through that. And I'm still like, there's more flowing in. And I have no idea what's coming up, but I know it hasn't killed me so far.
We can always count on that. We are very supported and guided. And I love that you bring forward, well, one, I just remember the sweetness and the, well, innocence being a kind of a pillar, a grounding rod for us in those moments to really return to our innocence and our high heart, and to be with the benevolence of source energy, particularly if we are in challenging circumstances, and going, okay, this is an opportunity in this moment to now melt even more deeply into that trust, to receive even more deeply. And I remember during our activation call, just having a little bit of that discussion before and after around that whole theme of receiving. And even as a feminine, I'm being guided into even more deep reservoirs of that receiving. And so I think this is very relevant and potent and alive for all of us. And also being highly aware of how we are authoring our story from moment to moment. So this is another portal that is opened for me. And this is what I feel coming forth in September is super conscious self-authorship from moment to moment to moment. And it's just a high level of wakeful alertness, being sure that I'm truly authoring the story that I want and not authoring from unconscious patterns or patterns of fear or patterns of separation of any kind. And even that energy, it's fascinating because I've witnessed this occur for several people. You know, bring it on, I'm ready for it. And just being in my sweet mystical heart and going, oh, bless your heart and your soul, and I love you so much. But that's what's about, you know, that's how those true initiations happen, is that then we meet with those moments that really go, okay, is this really the level of mastery that you wanted to experience within yourself? And here's the golden, like truly golden, rich opportunity to cultivate that inner soil of trust, because what better place to practice it? And, you know, and I feel like that comes up in many situations, like you mentioned. And I think the most potent and powerful one, I think, is it's just intimacy and being vulnerable and entering into sacred partnership with ourselves, a sacred partnership with one another, and really getting to those deep layers. And can we be there with one another and for one another? So also the embodiment of sovereign unity has come forward really strongly as well. And the way that I experience that energy, and I'd love to tap into and explore that with you also, is each of us as unique fractals and emanations of the collective, you know, source intelligence, one, connecting to that field, and then, like you said, where we used to kind of siphon it or draw it in from those higher fields, actually being that field in the here and now and being fully connected to that in our sovereign embodiment, and doing that together as a collective unit. But also, while we're in the realization space and the integration space of that total sum embodiment, can we be fully present to and with one another with the recognition that we are all one sacred, interconnected being? And can we receive support and can we give support from those spaces of vulnerability?
Yeah, and that's such a dance.
Yes.
It's such a dance, and we're learning in different ways. And so again, the innocence is transforming, and the intentionality that we show up, it's beautiful. And we can only be as sovereign as we are and as we're learning to become, because there's always more layers of knowing who we are so that we can say we're sovereign where we are today, realizing that there's an expansionary energy that's always going to be taking us into more self-discovery of the sovereignty that we carry. So the commitment to our individual sovereignty is wonderful, because my favorite subject's me. I love everybody, but I love astrological reports. I love personal readings. A psychic wants to call me up. It's like, yes, I want to know more about what's going on. Tell me, it doesn't come from this selfish place, really. It kind of does, but not really. But it's fascinating because we learn how we relate to others. We learn how our heart functions and what we're sometimes unaware that we're striving for, that gets illuminated as we discover more of who we be.
Yes.
And then we can share from that authenticity. It engenders the sovereignty to take place. So there's an amazing term that comes in when two sovereign states come together as one. It's called synarchy. And when you merge those kindlings together, what's possible in that union? We're being led to synarchy in our relationship with our beloveds, in our relationship with people that we co-create with. We have so many gifts to give in different aspects. And when we're entwined in the most beautiful, sovereign way in this type of divine relationship with a sacred other, the freedom that you give each other to be all those aspects of yourselves while still honoring the sacredness of the container that you're holding together is freedom that engenders creation that is beyond what we can hold individually.
Yes, yes, yes. I felt that in the field, because I remember you speaking into this also during our last connection. And is that in your genetic keys also, synarchy? Yeah, mine as well. It's either part of my culture or my purpose, and it's unity and it's synarchy. And there's such, I love that you said that it engenders, because that's exactly what it does. It's such a synchronous coming together and unification that actually births enrichment and flourishment in ways that just even the conception of sovereignty itself, it doesn't have that same effect. It doesn't, because I get the visual of it, and it's just like cogs in the sacred sentient technological machine merging and working together with such precision that it just births a life that...
And we do this dance. And so it's this dance of an energy that doesn't become entangled, but intertwines. And there's a big difference. And so in that, there's a freedom, there is a flow, there's an honoring of each other, there's this dance that's taken place. It's so beautiful. And you see it in people who are dancing that way. You feel it when you're doing this thing. When someone's doing an amazing tango, it's like they're in that synarchy, and it's for that purpose. But when we do this and we have the freedom of our self-expression intertwined with the inspiration of the energy that the other one is inviting us, where we can see with a magnifying lens more of who we are because of the love that we're receiving from them, what becomes possible.
Yes, yes, yes. It's just so juicy.
Yeah. It's such a gift to be able to experience it in different ways. Even if we glimpse it, we hold on to that glimpsing. It becomes part of us forever, and we get to keep building on that.
Yeah, so it's almost like a sequential activation unto itself. Once it's it just we get drawn more and more deeply into that dance, and the more that we experience it, the more we want to cultivate and be that and be with that and create that synarchy in all areas of our life. I mean, I feel like if there's a goal, that's it. It's that total unified synarchy, and just being so It feels so solid. It's so free and fluid and flowing, but so solid and grounded simultaneously.
Yes. And that's part of it. We're bringing in heaven on earth. We're grounding it in. We're embodying, not letting go of this expansionary energy that we have, but descending it into us, bringing it within.
Yes.
So that we're more capable of expressing it out into this world. We are human after all.
Yes.
We need to have this human experience. This thing is a gift that we get to embrace the gift of someone else, to hold them and to make love to them and to co-create with them and to be with each other in this physical, dense, material way. God, I wouldn't trade it for anything right now.
Right. Oh, it's so good. There's just this mystical, roomy kind of energy that I feel is coming forth, and all of this multidimensionality. I feel as though even as beings with such, well, and I mean, it's sacred sexuality, sacred union, that holy union, but experiencing it in a way in which that is our dance with life. And bringing in those interstellar, cosmic, expanded frequencies and really feeling the richness and the permanency of them in our body and creating those sacred spaces. Like, even as we're speaking, I just feel like warmth in my blood and oxygen flowing throughout my system. And it's that kind of embodiment where we're fully connected and plugged in and being so present and alive in that connection and carrying that from moment to moment.
And the pleasure of receiving that sacred energy.
Yes.
We take it beyond the confused primal nature that we've been immersed in for eons, and realize that we're at this apex in time where the collective is actually embodying that energy from the top down and from the bottom up. And it's meeting at this place where it creates this explosion of creativity, again, with this foundation of love, not with this foundation of control, of manipulation. I got to get this. I've got to procreate. We're not going to survive, or I got to be animalistic. We get to bring those parts up in an integrated way.
Yes.
They're not bad. They've just been misunderstood.
Right.
It's creation force that we learn to start manipulating to get something that perhaps we didn't think that we could get, or to satisfy an urge that was very primal, that doesn't serve us anymore as we have evolved over hundreds of thousands of years.
Right.
And so we're evolving and we're creating in different ways that takes into account the divinity of everything.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely, that's it. And Lakesh truly lived into in the purity, in the power, and the innocence and the grace of that energy. And as you were doing this, I was just seeing the actual magic that we have to harness and access. One, I don't think that the energy, well, it won't. I'm witnessing this, and it's really quite, it's exquisite. And such a gift and a treasure to know that we're at this space collectively, is that the ways in which we potentially as a species went about, thinking that we even needed to get or to acquire anything at all, are starting to dissolve, and that energetic is becoming pretty non-existent on the planet. And all of that energy is merging together into the heart, where the only true action is if we be love and we devote to that powerful, crisp, clean, pure, cosmic Christed consciousness, fully embodied, fully empowered, and we live and give from that space, then everything else truly does take care of itself in ways that are just so miraculous and beautiful and soul aligned to each of us as unique individuals. What is going to light up John's heart and mind and body and soul, and that's what your creation will give to you. And the same for me and for each of us. And so I'm even feeling an emergence of, there's places where you said, my favorite thing to learn, that's it. There's nothing more juicy than going what else is in this heart and in this soul, and what other beautiful visions want to come alive in me, and how does the exotic, divine, holy nature of me want to express in the world as a sacred offering. And then from that, just experiencing, you know, all that creation wants to gift me in return. But there's no energy. I would say that the most control and authority and agency, divine agency, that we can truly access at this apex, this point moving forward, is to live the will of the I am presence in moment to moment, which is simply to give love, to be a powerful source of love in the here and now. And as we do that, so in that, there's also an unraveling and an unwinding of, you know, ways that we may have either been programmed, you know, all the different ways that we've been programmed, and that we program our own selves to think that we need to create or to get, and all of that's washing away, and it's becoming so simple and natural and holistic and organic again, which is just yes.
So this is a fun thing to do.
Yes.
Let me ask you something. When you're seeing through your eyes and you're looking at me right now, who's doing the seeing?
Yes. That the beloved.
I am.
Yeah.
When you're listening to me on this call and this interaction that we're having, who's doing the hearing?
I am.
That you're speaking your beautiful wisdom and voice and this enthusiasm to share your gifts with others. Who's doing the speaking?
I am.
Right. Who's I am?
Right.
Divine.
Yes.
You are I am. You're creating this. You're in divinity. If you ever forget who I am is, if you ever feel like you've disconnected from I am, remember the simple truth of who's doing the breathing in you right now. I am. Who's doing the seeing from you? I am. Who is doing the loving that others get to receive from you?
I am.
I am. If you ever forget, just remember that.
Yes.
Just
remember. I think that's the most powerful practice and activation and perceptual lens to cultivate that really in my journey has become, even when I find myself going back into other practices that maybe serve me and in previous life cycles, I find myself continuously returning to just that, just that practice, and just being there and resonating there and cultivating and growing and expanding that. And that, again, it brings it back to such a sweet, deeply embodied simplicity. That's all that I really need to know. And actually in that, all of the true knowing is revealed. And so it's interesting. It brings me back to the oracle at the temple of Apollo in Delphi. The know thyself, and thou shalt know all the secrets and mysteries of the universe and of God. And those are palpable portals that I think we've each accessed in our own unique way through different types of journeys and experiences and awakenings. And I feel like that's what we're being called to truly ground into and embody, as you said, in this reality. And all the steps into that are what become the unknown. Okay, I'm in the unknown right now because I'm potentially not in spirit, or not in self, or not in my I am. So a beautiful companion of mine said the other day, moments of human amnesia, where we just simply forget for a moment and we get to come back in to that truth. And then from just that moment, the entire hologram shifts, like you were saying, that those karmic realities, they don't even have to exist. We just deepen into what we know to be true. And that shifts the whole hologram instantaneously and simultaneously.
Yeah, and is the amnesia really amnesia, or is it remembering that you've gotten a little away from yourself, and it's showing up as a gift to bring you back.
Yes.
And again,
Yes.
we judge, and we judge again.
Yeah.
Instead, we can say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes. That was actually a tool that I offered the other day, because as you were saying, I've also been traversing these deep depths that, I've been through a lot of really deep, potent activations into that field of oneness and in mastering what I would consider magical cities, but they're truly only accessible through pure unified love. Not super mysterious, it's just unconditional love. And been through those portals, and things were coming up that I wasn't really fully aware were still in my embodiment, beyond my deeper visceral layers, but actually in the bone structures of my body, and really going there and starting to see what has been stored in those parts of me, and can I be even more richly with these parts of myself, and go to these depths, and in that, always a deeper invitation back into myself, back into oneness, back into wholeness. And one of my practices when I'm in anxiety, that's a big one that comes up for me. It's just this feeling of unease or anxiety sometimes, and I just go, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Many of us are going through the anxiety thing. It's coming up in waves, like it hasn't, like I haven't experienced it myself and in others.
Yes.
In a very, very long time. So these places where we're feeling that unease, anxiety's been big, and there's a shaking out of the energies.
Yes.
There's a shaking out of these places where we have repressed access to love.
Yes.
Somehow the anxiety is really, it's serving us, and it's hard. It's anybody who's listening to this right now. If you're going through any of these energies, it's my love and compassion to you.
Right.
I can tell you, you're not alone doing this. And I can tell you, it is a solo journey.
Ah, yes. Yes.
Both.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I can feel like a big, almost just like a release in the energy field, people tuning into that.
Yes.
Yes.
And we go through waves of it. It's not like one thing, oh, we processed it, we did that thing, and it's like poof, it's gone. No, there's these waves. We're acclimating to something way bigger than we ever have been before. Right. So to think that one transmission or one medicine journey or one particular activation is going to provide the freedom that you seek, and you don't even know what freedom means to you at that moment because you're not there yet. It's bringing up moments of inspiration into landing into another unknown that is going to make us uncomfortable. And we're releasing history. We're releasing the past. And if we're releasing the past, where's our framework on how to relate and how to create? So that's got to be anxious making also, because I know how to do that one well. At least I feel safe there. Creating a level of success that feels good to a certain point, or that it's acceptable to society and my partner and my parents, and I know I'll be loved by being that. But as that we're releasing the recesses of the past, being shown that we have to embody it as masters that we are, as the I am that we are, and to create from this place of an unknown, it's going to bring up your shit.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, and just to even offer some vulnerability on my behalf as well. There were some spaces that I traversed in this past month and a little bit before where I hadn't felt that level of sadness in such a long time. And you know, that little girl in me that wanted to feel safe in those spaces, but didn't feel safe in those spaces, and just had to, I just connected into my inner God and goddess and found my strength and found my power and said, okay, in this moment, you're going to enrich with love, and you're going to meet yourself here, and you're going to be with this fully, and just giving myself the places and spaces that I needed to really do that and anchor in even more deeply. than ever before. And the profundity of miracles and connection that has come through those spaces of harmonization has just been so exquisite. And I feel like we're doing this dance where it's coming in these waves, and then we're also getting the pinnacles and the peaks, and then it's coming in waves. But I think the juiciness is that they can all be pinnacles if we can really just embrace ourselves throughout that process and continue to go deeper and deeper and deeper.
You're so right on that. And what happened, I know in the last 10 years, where before we were having like pinnacle experiences, we'd go up, have this like, oh my God, I can't believe I had that experience. It was so amazing. It's like, I can't believe I saw those things. Then boom, we'd go back down. And then boom, another pinnacle experience, and this mystery would show up, and it'd be in such awe and just the amazement of what was possible. Then it'd go back down. And so we had these experiences, these peaks and valleys that we were going through. And soon those peaks started getting more accessible. And even that is our way of experiencing our lives. And so in the healing out of the energy, we've normalized it. We've gone through an embodiment process. We're just going through a different one now. Yeah. And we've embodied hanging out in this place where synchronicity used to be such a wonder for us. And now synchronicity kind of tends to be a daily experience, and we forget that.
Right. Yeah.
We've normalized it. And we're going through another set of peak experiences right now. And a lot of the peak experiences have to do with being with the emotional state of what's coming up in the mastery of the trauma, the wounding, the repressed energy, that we're really taking the gifts, the strengths of that disempowered, disassociated soul loss, if you will, when that happened, and the power of when that aspect of ourselves happened to branch off of us to self-preserve. They're being integrated. So the karma of it, the story of it, the lesson of it, we've embodied, and now we're inviting those strengths back, our superpowers that we once had, that action-taking ability that is innate within us, that previous experiences said, ooh, it's not safe to be that right now. We're in that place where we're safe within ourselves, that those energies that are us are integrating back into our beings and co-creating our new reality with us. And so it's wonderful. So one thing I do want to offer as a tool, you said that you noticed that little girl aspect of yourself. Again and again, for anybody listening, whenever we're aware of that, our younger self, little John that needs that attention and he wasn't feeling safe, and was really vulnerable or extremely traumatic. And when we notice that part of us calling out to us, really just go into a quick dream journey, a vision. Just close your eyes and picture the little one in whatever traumatic event or wherever he happens to be, calling for you, saying, hey, I really could use you, or I'm crying, or I need something here. That need expressing itself. Show up as your adult self.
Yes.
And then offer. So little Solara. Like, hey, wherever your mother couldn't show up, wherever your father couldn't show up, wherever those places of that love that you knew that you were here to receive, but it couldn't meet you. We let those go because they loved you as best they can. And I'm here for you now. I am your mother now. I am your father now. I know you better than anybody else does. And I'm going to love you more than anybody else could.
And this is where leadership comes in too, I find, is we get to cultivate deeper levels of, and to me, leadership is an expression of fatherhood and motherhood, and truly being that. Well, first to ourselves, and then with and for one another in those ways, until we become fully empowered in that in ourselves. And in certain moments, we each need that in different ways. And, I instantly, when those things are, because we can easily spiral into whatever it is that we naturally might spiral into. But, I've traversed these terrains quite a bit myself. So I found that inner source of is exactly what you were saying. Okay, what is real here? What is true here? Who are you? In bringing comfort and safety and strength and really rich empowerment to those parts, so that that love could be received there, that safety could be felt there.
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is so exciting for me also. And acknowledging that that aspect of you, that that little one has a gift that is integral to who you are. It's like they didn't know what they were missing out on. I'm here to receive you. I'm ready to receive your gift as well. I need you. Let's do this together. But I'm going to be your mother now. I'm going to be your father. I'm going to be that love that couldn't see you, but I can see you. And I'm ready to receive you. Yeah.
She teaches me how to be that mother, that better leader, that better lover, that better father, whatever that aspect of me is. She teaches me.
To the wholeness of your love.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so exquisite. And so much beauty and magic and potent wisdom came through this container and transmission.
Wow,
and
such a great conversation. Yeah.
Thank you, John, for being present to all of this in your experience and just being such an open, connected channel and sharing this with all of us.
Right. We can't help but to like be where we're guided to be. And once you feel the discomfort of where you're not supposed to be, you can't help but to be where you're supposed to be.
Right.
And so it's organic. It's so beautiful. And when we can listen to our body's wisdom, to our mind's experience, and to our heart's calling, it just becomes this just amazing adventure. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for joining me. And I would love to, at some point in the future, potentially soon, get into what these next energies that we're birthing into are, because we just got into so much potent richness around what we've been traversing, and I feel like it's exactly perfect. And if there's anything else that you would love to add, or anything that you would love to offer before we hop off, please.
Oh my goodness. It's for me right now, and what I keep seeing, it's like take each step, embody the step. As you find yourself reaching beyond the next step, just allow yourself the gift of what's being presented to you right now. The gift of me being present with you here was my next step. I don't have to be 5 other different places. Why would I rob myself of this experience that I said yes to already? Be aware of what you say yes to, and show up in presence, and allow your wisdom, your body's intuition, your mind's clarity, again, your heart's calling, to let you know to continue in that trajectory, and you'll just be guided along just so beautifully. It's just, again, that present, just being right there, just because you're called to. Not a responsibility, duty, obligation, because you have to promote your social media stuff. No, just because that's where you're being called. And again, the innocence and the mastery working in synergy. Truly.
Stunning. Thank you so much for that. Just wrapping you in a big, warm, gracious virtual hug, and deeply appreciate this time that we've been able to share together today. I know it's been such a gift and a blessing to me, and I know for anyone who tunes in and decides to join us, they'll receive tremendous love, and love being the value.
The gift is mine. Thank you so much. Yes, I receive. Yes.
Well, thank you, John. I look forward to our next connection, and wishing you a marvelous, magical remainder of your week. And we'll connect soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, John.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.